So, it's been about a month since I've been here, but I wanted to make a video on the second house and what it's like having a second house stellium so that you can see firsthand what that looks like if you know somebody who has a second house stellium, if you yourself have a second house stellium, depending on your age, you can kind of see different themes play out. And as someone who is well, always, but currently dealing with a situation that is connected to the second house, um, I got to talk about it. I got to talk about it because without the knowledge of astrology, many people believe that your life and our lives should kind of look exactly the same. And if they don't, then you're doing life wrong. Um, but with the knowledge of astrology, you'll understand timing and you'll also understand why people are experiencing what they are. Now, whenever you have a stellium in your birth chart, it can just be a very concentrated energy of like, three to four planets in the same sign, very close in conjunction. And that area of your life is like just always something going on in that area. For the second house, it is the house of Taurus, so it can deal with issues of food, your resources, material needs, your self-worth. Taurus is a fixed sign. It can be very stubborn as well. And so dealing with these themes has been a lot. And I can kind of start with like, let's say it's the theme of food. Having a second house stellium could give you, depending on what planets again, a real love for food or a real aversion for food or a real like traumatic story around food. With Saturn, it can be scarcity, it can be restriction, it can be, very hard to accumulate your food, or dealing with, maybe not wanting to eat, etc. Um, with the moon, it can be like an indulgence of it, a love for it. Mars, there can be that your physical energy is always going into having to eat or having a love of food or liking spicy foods. Um, but when we're looking at it as a whole, and as for me, food has become so important in the sense of like we aren't seeing the amount of people who are not being nourished like in this country. And as somebody who has personally dealt with feeling hunger, that's the worst feeling when you don't have the funds, even as a grown adult, to eat because everything is money, everything is a dollar. Um, it's very eye-opening. And it made me think about whenever I was in elementary school, I will never forget this day. I was sitting at the lunch table and I had a paper, like a lunch bag, like a paper bag. And the only thing that was in there was a sandwich that my mom had packed, but the sandwich was literally just two pieces of white bread, one slice of meat, and that's it. No condiments, no cheese, no lettuce, no nothing. Just bread, meat. That I don't even think it was a lot of meat. And then I had a bag, like a little sandwich bag, a very small sandwich bag, with potato chips in it, but like this much, like nothing. And that was it. That was my lunch. And I'm looking around at everyone with their little snack packs and their yogurts and their puddings and their, all of this abundance in the lunch kit. And I'm like, man, I don't even have a drink. I don't even have milk because milk costs money, costs $25. I mean, 25 cents, $25. $25 is crazy, probably in 2026. But, the milk was 25 cents. I didn't even have 25 cents for milk. And I remember sitting crying at the table, like, why don't I have food? Why don't we have food? But when you understand astrology, you understand timing. You understand those moments. And also understanding that with astrology and the knowledge of timing, that time can come again for you as an adult because everything goes back into cycles. So there have been moments for me as an adult where I literally have had pain, hunger pain, so where people think in the 3D world that anyone can get food, anybody can get it, anybody can feed themselves. No. But when you become the observer and you separate yourself and you understand astrology and birth charts and transits and things like that, you will know that it's not that easy. And that there will be a moment where you have to experience these things. I don't fully understand why we have to sometimes continue to repeat the same lesson over and over and over again. Um, I don't know. Because sometimes I'm like, I think you don't have to starve me anymore, you know? Um, Even through this past year, I want to say, I've personally have gone through a weight transformation. I've personally gone through like losing a lot of probably like 15 pounds from the theme of the second house. The theme of the second house, stellium, the thing that I have to deal with sometimes. And the second house, again, also ties to money. So, whenever you deal with the second house, you're dealing with Taurus, you're dealing with your resources, you're dealing with wealth, you are dealing with the bull, you are dealing with Wall Street. So, themes of money are always on my mind 24/7, all the time. But to the outside world, it looks like you're a gold digger. You are whatever, but also not understanding that that's earth energy. And if all of your birth chart is condensed into one area that is on your mind and a theme in your life 24/7. So with the second house, you can deal with poverty or you can deal with extreme wealth. You can be a person who looks extremely wealthy but has absolutely nothing, or vice versa. You could look like you have nothing and you have everything. Because again, the second house deals with your material things. Some people might not care for the material, but they acquire a lot of capital. Does that make sense? So, when you are studying this, understand that if a person like myself, who is like, guys, the funds are low, actually, the funds are non-existent, people don't believe it. Because I am one of those people who has that external looks like this, but not understanding that stuff like clothes, very cheaply made. I got this for like $5 and I bargained for these $5. Okay. I was like, why is this cheap material so expensive? But anyways, I was at the thrift store. But what I'm saying is the external doesn't always match what is really going on. And I've just come to terms with it, you know. I've come to terms with people um not believing me. I've come to terms with people really playing into my worth or my value or trying to tell me how much they want to give me, you know? Like how do you know what I'm worth? How do you set my price? Like I know me better than you, you know? So having to deal with those themes, having to deal with people who don't see value within themselves, or maybe need a boost of confidence. They need to know that they are worth something. And I'm always telling people, like, you're worth more than that. Get more money, more, more, more. But I also had somebody on Threads. I was like, he's like, well, how much do you think dishwashers should be paid? And I was like, $100 an hour minimum, because that's physical labor. And if the dishes aren't being washed, the restaurant is not running anymore because you're not putting food on dirty plates. So that's an important job and it's physically demanding. Why would you have a person working at your establishment, underpaying them, and then also you're not feeding them because a lot of restaurants are not feeding their staff or they're making them pay. So imagine you're working in a fancy restaurant, right? Where people are paying $100 a plate, but you're the dishwasher, and the dishwasher is getting 20 bucks an hour or less. But that dishwasher is there for 12 hours a day. When are they eating? And if your plates are 100 bucks and employee discounts are 50% max, because according to the IRS, that's how much maximum they could be, I believe. How are they affording it? You know? So I'm telling this guy, you got to get paid more. Mind you, he said he was a dishwasher for 35 years. He told me to go myself for me trying to show him his own value. So that's also a thing I deal with of people being upset. that they don't see value within themselves. The second house is the house of your self-worth. Taurus might tell you, invest in yourself, pay a couple more extra dollars. Um, don't get that cheap thing. Invest in some quality. That's the lesson that Taurus teaches people. At least that's how I've taken it, you know. But also understanding as an Aquarius that money is not everything. So it becomes very contradictory to people when I'm asking for $100,000 while simultaneously telling people that money is nothing. Do you see? Do you see why you need to learn astrology? Do you see why you need to understand the layers of people? That's why it looks crazy to people. I love luxury. I love luxury. I love a luxury experience, but I also believe that everyone should be entitled to a luxury experience. Does that make sense? So when I'm doing these things, and majority of the time it's just because I've found a way in, found a deal, found a way because that Saturn and Mars that I have there, Saturn is very cheap. It's so cheap. It is so cheap. Okay. It's so ridiculous of how sometimes I'm like, $2. But then if somebody's like, hey, let's go to Japan tomorrow, I'm like, great, $1,500, you know? So if you have the moon, you could be an emotional spender. You could be somebody who likes to eat um, I would say eat your emotions away, but you just like food. Venus there as well, liking to spend money on nice things. I have a friend who has a Venus in the second, and she has like a lot of luxury bags. Um, she loves a luxury dining experience, but at the same time, it's like we're still this, I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. I don't even know what to call it. Second house stellium people can be just very contradictory whenever it comes to the idea of money. And again, like I said, whatever planets you have there, of course, that kind of plays out different. I am not somebody who has any type of like luxury anything. I don't invest into bags, shoes. Like I don't have labels of nothing. I don't think I've never owned a luxury. I would love one though. I would love one. I would love a YSL black bag. There's something about the logo and the design and then that brand that I love. But the other part of me is like $2,000 for a bag. I would much rather go to the other side of the world and meet people from another country just to say I could, and have nothing to like show for, but maybe some photos. Um, so. I say all this to say, study people and really understand that this human experience, although we are living in this reality and we do have to deal with the consequences and just go through the journey, also understand too that we are experiencing something that is beyond our control. I know there's a debate about free will and this and that, but I feel like we are in a quote limited free will. If you have that understanding, like, yeah, you're gonna be I guess given a luxurious car, but the only free will you have within that is to choose like the color, you know? Um, so understanding the human experience and then understanding the person's human experience, that's just what they personally have to deal with. I had a girl on Threads, she called me a bum for, sorry, y'all. She called me a bum because she said every day you get online and you ask for some money and blah, 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 and you're begging. I do need $100,000. Okay. I do need $100,000. Okay. I've said it before. I went and got into a car accident. I still don't have a car. It's been 3 months. Things take time and I need transportation. When you have Scorpio energy, it's a Scorpio ascendant, you also understand that people will try to shame you, or you will have to just shame yourself in order to kind of get over embarrassment and whatever. Like, I'm not offended by that. But having the understanding of self, because months and months ago, I had made a video where I had one of my astrology books, and it says Scorpio ascendant will deal with the most financial ups and downs in any other rising sign of the zodiac. So I had already curated that video. And so when she said this, she was like, "You're not a real astrologer. If you would have known, then you would have known that you would have needed this, and then you wouldn't been asking." And I'm like, that's not how it works. It's just that when the circumstance happens, then you're like, where is this coming from? Is this coming from my rising sign energy? Is this coming from this area of my life? And that's how you study yourself. You cannot prevent things from happening. The only thing you can do is control like your reaction. Yes, I can be very upset and mad and because you have the awareness, but also at the same time, that's when you learn how to let go. So, anyways, yeah, I feel like I rambled today, but also I was making sense. If you have a second house stellium, please, please, please tell me your journey, your relationship with food, money, your self-worth, your resources, because my resources have been stripped away from me month after month after month. So, when you learn yourself, you learn how to be resourceful, second house stellium people, because it's the house of resources. So I become resourceful. Like, wow, I can really turn this into this. I can really turn this into this because I lack, I don't have. So I make something out of something new or out of something old. But anyways, y'all, yeah, it's a little bit about my life and what I deal with. And I just don't feel like there is a reason to like hide it because uh, other people are born with this energy and they have to deal with it. So how do you learn unless you hear it from somebody else? So anyways, y'all, thank y'all for supporting. I know somebody donated to me on here, but YouTube will not pay you unless you make a minimum of like $100. And I haven't been on here lately and I'm not monetizing like that. So if y'all would like to donate, please, 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 my Cash App, my Venmo, I'll leave it all here at the bottom. Um, and yeah, thank y'all for supporting and I will see y'all soon. Bye.